style of the writing that you're using in a document. In this document, I've put a little title at the top and then just put some random nonsense words here in a paragraph so we can work with them. When we're working in Google Docs with fonts, our font menu is right up here. Right now, my font is called Arial, and the size is 10.5. I also have some other formatting options that we'll look at in just a moment. The first thing I want to show you is how we can go ahead and change the face or the style of our font. What I need to do to change something is to highlight it first, because the computer doesn't read your mind. It needs to know what you want it to change. I want to change this paragraph, so I'm going to start at the beginning, hold my mouse button down, and drag over and down until I get to the end. Now it's highlighted or selected. Next, I'm going to come up here where it says Arial and click to open up the menu. I have a bunch of fonts here all ready for me to use. But did you know you can add even more? Google has hundreds of fonts that you can use. And right here, you're going to see at the top a capital A with a plus, and it says More Fonts. When I click More Fonts, it's going to open up the font menu. In here, I can scroll through all of the fonts and find ones that I want to add. If it has a check mark and is blue, it's already in my list. If it's black without a check mark, I don't have it yet. So if I decide I want to add this one to my list, I can click to check it. And I'm going to scroll down a little more, see what else there is that I might want. Lots and lots and lots of fonts. Every time I think I'm getting close to the bottom, it's just going to keep going. There are plain fonts. There are handwriting fonts. There are cursive fonts. You can choose any type that you want. On the right-hand side are the fonts you already have. If you decide you're not going to use a font again for a while, you can go in and say, oh, you know what? I'm probably not going to use this one much. I'm going to click on the X to take it off my list. I can always come back and add it again over here, but that moves it out of my list so my list doesn't get too crazy. When I'm happy, I'm going to click OK. Notice my font hasn't changed because I haven't told it which one I want yet. So now I'm going to go back up here and decide which one I want to use. So I'm going to go through, and I think I will go with this nice fat one, Bulby 1SC. When I click on it, you can see how my font changed. If I don't like it, I can say, oh, no, I think I'm going to change it to Happy Monkey. Oh, I like that one better. Good, I'm going to keep that one. While it's still highlighted, I can make some other changes. This is my font size. And here I can change the size. Maybe I want it to be size 12, a little bit larger. I can also use some of my formatting tools over here. The B stands for bold, which makes writing fatter and thicker. The I is italics, which is kind of slightly slanted to the right. And the U is for underline. Now, when we use bold, italics, and underline, we don't want to use them on an entire chunk of text. These are used to make a small piece of text really stand out. So maybe I have a really important set of words right here, and I want someone to really pay attention to them. I'm going to highlight just these 3 words, and if I click bold, see how it turned them a little bit darker? I can turn bold off by clicking it again. This is italics, and italics turned off, and underline, underline turned off. I'm going to go ahead and make this bold so that it stands out a little more from the text. Now, the next 2 buttons are my color buttons, text color and highlight color. If I don't want this font to be plain black, I'm going to highlight it and come up to my text color, the A with the line under it. This gives me a whole bunch of colors to choose from, or I can click Custom and choose from my rainbow over here. I'm just going to come up here and choose a nice dark purple. And now I have my font ready to go. Because it's highlighted in this blue selection color, keep in mind that your font color that you pick might look a little funny until you click somewhere to take the highlighting off. Now, every once in a while, I might want to highlight some of my writing permanently, not just where I grab some of it with my mouse. You don't want to do this too often because a lot of times it makes things a little harder to read depending on your color choices. And it's also used just like bold, italics, and underline to make small parts of things really pop out. You never want to highlight your entire chunk of text. So I'm going to go ahead and I want just these two words highlighted. Up here is my highlight marker. I'm going to click on it and I can choose a color to highlight with. I'm going to choose yellow. Notice it looks a little weird because of the blue highlight. When I click off, I can see it's highlighted in bright yellow. Again, this should only be used for small pieces of text to make them really stand out. The last thing I want to take a look at are my alignment tools. A lot of times we want to center something in our writing. And the one thing that I see kids do all the time is they'll start at the beginning of their words and they'll press the space bar a whole bunch of times to try and center it, or they'll use the tab key to try and center it. And that's not a good idea for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you change the font or if your screen size changes, maybe someone's looking at it on a phone instead of on a computer, it's not going to line up perfectly. Number two, if you change the font size or the font face, it might also change how it's aligned. Luckily, we have tools built in to help us with this. Right now, everything on my page is what we call left aligned. It's lined up on the left-hand side of the page. Over here, you should see a bunch of line buttons. These are the alignment tools. Right now, it's left aligned. Everything is against the left. If I want this title to be centered, here's my center line. It automatically puts it in the center. And even if I change the font, even if I'm looking at it on a different zoom level or on a different type of screen, it will always be in the exact center. Sometimes I might want something to go over to the right. This is right align, left align, center align. The last one is justify. We don't use this one very often. This is more used with paragraphs. If you're writing a book and you want it to be aligned perfectly on both sides, I can click justify and that will make it lined up perfectly on both sides. The problem with this is if you don't have a lot of writing, it's going to put some weird spacing in between your words to make it line up perfectly. So almost all of the time, we're going to use just left align and center align to make our writing line up the way we want. Now, because this is my title, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this a nice fat title and make it nice and big so it stands out. Change my color. Let's make this one orange. And there we go. Now I have changed my fonts, my size. We've done bold, italics, underline, font color, highlight color, and our left, right, and center alignment tools.